Donc, rebonjour, on va passer
Hello
à l'introduction
again.
et à la prochaine
We'll
présentation. Donc, en rappel, la
go to
prochaine
the next
présentation est l'usage des
presentation.
données,
As I
guide en
recall,
littérature et le format des
the
données,
title
des exemples en culture au Québec, présenté par Viêt Cao, qui est directeur innovation et analytique de données
in
à
Quebec
Synapse C, un
by
organisme à but
Viêt
non
Cao,
lucratif qui
who
aide les
is
milieux culturels
the
à décrire, comprendre et
Innovation
prévoir le monde
and
à
Data
partir des données.
Analytics
Il
Director
est
at Synapse
activement
C, and
impliqué
an
dans le
NPO that
monde
helps the cultural
activement impliqué dans les
community
projets de
describe,
développement d'objets
understand, and predict
de
the world
connaissance
from
de
data.
public
He
par
is
la
actively
manipulation
involved
individuelle
in
et
projects to
collective de
develop
données
audience
de
knowledge
partenaires
through the
culturels ainsi que des
individual
projets de
and or
recherche
collective
entrepreneuriale.
valorization of
Il supervise
cultural
également le développement
partners'
d'outils
data,
de gestion et d'analyse de données,
as well
ainsi que
as
le
in
développement
partnership and research
de
projects.
formations
He
afin que l'attention
also
des acteurs des
supervises the
sympathisants de
development
la
of data
culture s'intéresse
management and
particulièrement
analysis
aux enjeux de
tools and
gouvernance et
participates
de
in the
gestion
development of
des
training
données.
for actors in the
Merci,
arts
la
and culture
parole.
sector. He's particularly interested in governance and data management
Merci,
issue. You have the floor, Viet Cao.
merci beaucoup aux organisateurs et
Thank
invités
you
pour
so
l'invitation.
much
C'est
for
premier pour moi.
the invitation. It's a first for me to participate in this
On va
summit.
parler de culture
So we'll
d'abord.
talk about
C'est bien pour cette
culture.
diversité également thème
We've
Mais dans
tackled
cet
the issue
enjeu,
a bit
culture, on
this
voit que
morning.
culture
We'll
reçoit
talk
beaucoup
about
de données, des
culture.
données descriptives
So
souvent qui doivent
cultural
être utilisées pour
artworks
que
are
elles soient
contents
complètes pour
with
être
descriptive data, open data, disseminated for outreaching to the
on peut
publics
définir la
and their
découverte
audience.
numérique qui
We
se fait
can
de
define
discovery en ligne, qui se peut
digital
opérer par un vaste ensemble de
discovery
membres qui dans une recherche
by
spécifique.
disponibility online
Façon.
and its capacity
Donc
to
culture peut se
identify
présenter de quatre leviers sur
vast
lesquels on peut
data
l'utiliser
sets
pour
for
dimensionner le marketing numérique à la
a
fois
navigator on
pour les
internet
humains et tout ce qui est
that can
entreprise,
be
référencement,
practical for humans and also open data
et l'idée c'est
for
de créer
machines. The
des
idea is how we
microservices
can
numériques
create the data
qui permettent de
and
rencontrer
play
et
on
puis
all those
à la fois une rencontre
levels and create interoperability
des exemples plus
um,
sectoriels. Donc,
processes.
l'art
There are
plastique, par
sector
exemple, ça peut aussi être
examples
des outils
in performance
artistiques
arts. It can be
des apps également
data on the
accessibles.
title, the
Donc, tout un ensemble de
artist or
données qu'on peut
creator, the
collecter pour
producer,
faire dimension
the
entre
date
une
of the
solution culturelle qui
show
se
and the
veut unique,
discipline.
une date, un lieu, un moment. On
There's a
imagine également ce genre de
location.
choses lorsqu'on cherche un
For a
auteur,
book, which is a
un
second
romancier qui va
example, when you look
écrire
for
un titre,
an author,
l'édition,
the
on va
title, the
retrouver dans les
illustrator, the
documents ce
edition,
type d'objet
the year of
précis
edition, in order to find the
donc
artifact
voilà,
that you're
quelles sont
looking
les
for.
descriptives en art de la chose?
So
C'est
the
vraiment
creation of descriptive data
des efforts à
in
l'échelle
culture, it's
culturelle pour
an
permettre la
effort
création lorsque la création
shared
existe au niveau
between
de
all
du
actors
matériel.
uh,
Ça peut être l'artiste, le
at all of
créateur,
the level
ça
of
peut
the
être programmé
process.
par exemple. On y ajoute
So,
culture
for example,
et
there's a
artistique également,
creator,
donc produite
the
par un
artist, the
artiste,
title of his
programmé
artwork.
avec des
It's
mécanismes.
being then a
Et en fait,
producer or
dans les données
programmer with
s'ajoutent quelques
descriptive
acteurs
events throughout
supplémentaires qui
the
participent
value
également
chain. There are
à cette
different
transformation.
actors participating
On
in order
voit
to
la
create those
dissémination
descriptive data.
descriptive, on peut avoir
So,
différentes
in that
variantes
scheme that you see, there's also
quelques producteurs, voire
this
certains
disciplines you
peut-être
need to
classables,
target
capables de
uh,
positionner
um,
différemment pour
that
mentionner
specific
certains concepts
show
de façon
to in order to
précise. Et on
describe
peut
it.
évoluer en fait
So it can be
selon les tendances
modulated.
pour rejoindre
That definition can be
donc bref,
modulated in order
de
to
par exemple,
really
je sais pas si
describe
tu as
the
décidé en fait
artwork.
de faire un effort cette année.
The
C'est pas
whole
uniquement grâce à
descriptive
un organisme
data
spécial ou
is the
organisation
result of a
volontaire
sectoral
qui
effort.
pousse.
Many
Évidemment, chaque acteur est un petit
contribute to
peu
that effort.
producteur et
Each
utilisateur
actor and
également.
is
Il a
a
recours à ça
producer and a
ensemble et fait des
reuser,
efforts pour générer des
intermediary
espaces
of data,
assez
open data.
variés, soit au contraire
We
un
don't
petit peu
only
bloqués dans
share
des
the
extrêmes.
data, we can
Une fois qu'on
improve
rentre dans
it
cette
and so
région,
on.
donc
So
les
when
utilisateurs
you
finaux,
reach the
c'est
final
ça
users,
lance donc vraiment une exposition à cette forte
it's an
évolution
exposure of
numérique.
that cumulated efforts of
La
producing
connaissance, c'est vraiment cette
descriptive
connaissance,
data.
cette exposition
So the
numérique qui
knowledge
est
that is
directement
popping out
économique.
from that
Si on
process
peut dire, si on
of those
regarde
data
les personnes
has
ciblées
a
utilisent
direct
quoi sur
impact
Internet
on
aujourd'hui?
economic
C'est pas
development of
nécessairement
the
regarder
sector. If,
des
of
enfants,
course,
par
you don't
exemple.
know about the show that is going on in a
L'enjeu,
certain
c'est un petit peu plus complexe
location
dans
or
l'art de la chose. Un
theater,
spectacle est
obviously
souvent
you won't go.
relativement
So
éphémère,
it's
tandis qu'il y a plusieurs
there's
acteurs.
a
C'est souvent
ephemeral
des
nature of
conférences, des événements
performance
aussi.
arts.
Par exemple, dans
In
le
the area
domaine
of
culturel, il
heritage,
s'agit
it's a little
d'un effet
different.
waouh. Il y a toujours quand même un toit de
The
magie
wow
à créer.
effect is
Mais ceci
different.
étant,
You can maybe
c'est vraiment l'impact
track it down afterwards, but it's very crucial for performance arts that the data can be open and outreaches the public in a specific location so people can attend. Descriptive data are generated by actors who have limited resources. Of course, the shows are not free, and obviously each producer needs to respond to its own interest, for example, to discover new artists, promotion, archive, heritage, memory, business intelligence. It can serve many objectives and intentions. So the idea is to produce it into at the lower cost to maximize the outreach of, but there always there's reconciliation about all those objective. There are duplication of efforts. There are lost opportunities. Obviously, those are not new issues, but are also in that context. So open data, the creation, the dissemination, and use. Producing quality data, it takes time and resources. There are they so we need the environment is changing. The idea is to bring up the value of open data in that specific cultural context when they are used or reused. So we need to identify the impact and the benefits that we were looking for. And obviously, of course, the value is even higher when there's the cost has been split and divided between all users, because there's a lot of users using it. So there are some obstacles at the level of open data use. The aspect of the discoverability of the data discovery, awareness of the existence of the data, and you need to pursue the usage of that data in order to produce appropriate data and also update it according to the needs of potential users. And if I give you some examples in culture of data that guide the generation and openness of the data. And the examples I'll share because I've been involved in those projects with partners. So very quickly, Philip mentioned it about in the introduction. So Synapse C supports a cultural domain to describe, understand, and foresee the world and anticipate the world, the public, based on data. We try to make the data work in order to crisscross them together in order to respond to the needs of the domain. There's many development axes. There's a mutualization, exploitation of data collectively coming from that cultural enterprises are subusing their active and their data, how we can benefit for them about the data they gather. There's also another stream, which is the transfer of knowledge, always guided towards action. So that's a strong pillar that brings about a great benefit. It is also a process of training and accompaniment, not only at the level of use, but we also develop a lot of partnership research in order to bring cultural institutions to share the data, gather the data, partnership with university, and also talent spaces. It's not always obvious, for them to gather and share those data they have at hand. The project I want to share is the Dialogue project. The promoter of that project are the regional councils of culture. I'm not sure it's the same kind of institutions in Yukon. So in each region in Quebec have a cultural regional council. The objective is to create awareness among actors of the performing arts and to the challenges of the development of outreach and discovery, how we develop useful data sets in the domain of knowledge, and it echoes Frederick's presentation. The idea is to create data that can be connected in order to multiply the entry points in the cultural world, in universe, and offer. Also, to illustrate, the next trip is to Tokyo, and in the book, the action location, we can access a list of a specific book on this, on Tokyo, on the Japanese environment, and so on. So the user partners are the members of those regional councils of culture, how we create data at source that can be in a knowledge scheme, work on those data. The idea is to facilitate the technical challenge at the source. To contribute to data literacy, sometimes with actors and partners that are not necessarily, have all the tools to increase literacy at that level. So we also in that project identified and built co-construction tools at the level of data governance and training in order on the technical stream, on the strategical stream. Do we want to keep the date, or do we want to raise it? Or there are many issues there. So the idea is to identify the best angles in that specific project. The quality requirements can also have some impact on lodging, for example, who can share all those issues. We divided them in order to tackle them in the decision-making domain. So the approach we adopted in that framework is to see strategically what are the main principles at the level of who's using, what kind of use, opportunity of sharing, legal environment in order to document very well the data, also interpret accurately in order to give access, what we want to keep, what we want to generate, want to forget, and also keep it in archives for a potential future use, and so on. For more details, I don't know if you've observed, there's also in the context of this conference, we shared a video in the catalog of on-demand videos, so you can glance at it. A second project that we've led with one of the promoter, which is under the Ministry of Culture, and it calls the Cultural Digital Plan of Quebec, members of the Measure 111 in the context of digital transition. So the objective here is that the many structuring projects were funded, and how to favor interoperability between those projects, so those projects are not working in silos, and also to preserve the crossing of data crossing, break the silos, connect with the environment, and technological innovation. So the project here is to establish a common reference of the description of performing arts. It's very standardized. In performing arts, there's no real authority that decides, do we divide in theater, circus, and songwriting, and so on. So the idea is to develop a common language in order to preserve and reflect all the shows that are being created. So the issue here, the problematic, is that there are many projects existing to generate data on performing arts. What are the different challenges, objectives, business plan? Objectives can be also participating in international festival that goes well beyond public audience or a local audience. There's also it's like a window with tourism agents, regional agents, And also there's a project of a platform to create some recommendations in order to create platforms. For example, in music, there are some streams defining, a gender, music genders, platforms. So we need to develop some sociological research, transversal studies to tackle all the analyze the situation and the state of the art. So the basic outcomes on which we agree, which are based on interoperability, how we really how represent all the basic needs of artists and also of final users, is create an equilibrium between the objective and the plurality of usage. Also pave the road towards future use. And there's also there's the use of international unique IDs of type ISNE, unique global IDs. There's also create a common basis for data crossing, innovation, and minimize the efforts towards interoperability. There's a mass here in Quebec of data at the cultural level that are very specific culturally. So how we build that francophone massive data set, it's a process that is very voluntary, is based on volunteer approach. There's no coercive approach. It's an approach that has been built collectively with the users and artists and institutions. And the last project has been led with a public institution of National Archives of Quebec and the Great Library. They use a lot of data, a lot of this descriptive data with high quality data there's a lot of demands at the central level, but there are different needs also at the level of the institution itself. So the objective here is to evaluate and prioritize the data what are appropriate, can be potentially used, what are the most frequent demands. So the problem here is to really identify the most interesting data sets, of course, responding to a limit of resources, also following citizen monitoring and also transparency, and also to make sure that there's a process of use and reuse of those data. So identify internal processes to identify those interesting data sets at the value. Are there data and legal issues related to those data, and preserve a certain image of quality in order to release information data that are high quality, not low quality, and so on. Obviously, we have developed many processes of interviews with open data users. To identify the data that are useful, the data are missing, and there are many issues at the level of use, of interaction, and also what are the users' desires, what are the streams that we should develop. So really, it's user focused because using their opinion and needs in order to improve the data sets. So what kind of is there a notion of are we talking about the use data? Is it the description on the use, on the transit of the data? The idea is here to identify the integration challenges, issues, type of users, obstacles, and so we need to discover this. and meet with the partners and users. So the idea to generate at the source in order to optimize efforts in the future, create spaces of dialogue, overcome technical issues, and also accompaniment and training sessions at the level of data management. At the level of usage, we're doing work with regional in order to multiply the processes with the cultural ministry in order to identify the plurality of needs and potentialities. And also, and there's also technical support being offered, of which I'm part of. And there's a stream also on users based on the structuring projects that are funded in order to capitalize on the strategies. Digital strategies are not structures, but should be in the future. So the idea is to prioritize the efforts and maximize through interview strategies at the qualitative level, always maintain a dialogue with users, external actors, in order to systemize the demands of access to data. Sometimes there's a case by case approach from users, how to respond to those needs. And also we're working closely with obviously external users and also internal actors. So based on those efforts of different partners and actors, there's two movements that we can observe. There's a concentration of actors on coherence, on vision, the one that have the means, have a more technological background or need more technological support. And the second movement, there's a multiplication of users and references. So how we find a balance between those two movements, because many of the actors are not native, quote unquote, in open data. So the idea is to launch the circulation of data, how it generates values, how we can use it, put it in context in relation with other data that allows us for a better interpretation and use. So there are many learning ongoing. So from a TI point of view, IT ontological, we're talking about integrated approach, but that's really in the DNA of a cultural institution and an artist to really do that cross, multi-level approaches, integrated approach in order to see if a sole person can do all those functions and at once. So at the level of artificial intelligence on sovereignty, the data are a representation of a specific reality. There are some obviously technological challenges, but how we work with artists, but also with the institutions, it can be quite beyond their area of competence, but we're trying to create synergies. There are issues how we can make sure that we ensure the visibility of diversity of cultural expressions at the digital level. Sometimes specific expressions are not accessible, so we need to make sure that they are accessible. So global observation, since the artworks and the contents, their data have value only if they are, used. So each artwork has its own public. So there's an initial effort is needed to imagine and define uses that we produce. So primary use, but also to anticipate and allow the linkages and crossing with other data sets from external sources. And data crossing and innovation. There are also many challenges that belongs to that specific domain, cultural domain, structural issues. There's a training that is needed, constantly ongoing training. awareness creation. There's also an effort that needs to be sustained over time. That digital transformation, it goes over time. There's also issues at the level of funding resources. There's at the level of a business model. So we need to recover the title of this conference, because data is a social investment. So how we can make sure it's viable over time. So there's a lot of opportunity right now, a lot of funding available in the ecosystem, but how we can maintain that over time also in order to capitalize the data that have been built. So obviously we need to monitor the evolution, ongoing evolution of opportunities in order to benefit from innovation and participate in those streams of innovation. There's a lot of learnings that come with the community of open data, and we hope that to contribute to this process and also to have feedback in that environment. Thank you. Thank you so much, Viet. If there are some questions, you can get closer to the mics on both sides of the room. There were not many questions online, and there's no question here in the room, and we'll have a pause, a break of 15 minutes until the next presentation and conference. Thank you so much.